Guten Abend zusammen, heute bei einer kleinen Zwischenmahlzeit bei 99:1. Wir heißen heute live im Studio sozusagen willkommen die Anwältin aus Athen, Anny Paparousou. Das Interview wird in Englisch sein, deswegen werde ich jetzt auch gleich auf Englisch switchen. So, hi Anny, how are you?
Hi Daniel, thank you very much about your invitation.
You're very welcome, it's an honor.
Thank you.
So let's maybe just start right away by introducing yourself a little bit. So just give us a very quick intro of who you are and what your background is.
Yes, I'm a lawyer. I live in Athens. I handle penal cases with political characteristics. This is enough, I think.
Okay, very good. Okay, so Greece used to have a slightly left-wing government with Syriza. Now it has Nea Demokratia. How would you describe the current Greek government? What does Nea Demokratia stand for?
I would describe it as a deeply unpopular government seeking to establish an authoritarian regime which is based on a know-how stemming from the dictatorship we have.
Okay, strong words. I remember that when Mitsotakis took the reign, that people that were somewhat interested in Greek policies could immediately observe like a very, very strong and massive crackdown on left-wing structures. Can you kind of give us a quick recap what he did there and how it was perceived, maybe?
Well, I don't really agree that left-wing structures were dissolved after the predominance of the Mitsotakis government. It's just that Alexis Tsipras's Syriza, the party, the left party, the leftish party, is not currently exercise at least any substantial opposition. So it is a fact that the left-wing forces expressed through Syriza have stopped supporting him since 2015 referendum.
Okay.
I remind you that the Greek referendum of 2015 was called by Alexis Tsipras in June with a proclamation to the Greek people and held a week later on July. The question was whether the draft agreement of the three institutions, the European Commission, the European Central Bank, and the International Monetary Fund, proposed to Greece on 25th of June, should be accepted. Then we had the referendum, and though the 63% of Greek people voted no to this plan, then Tsipras proceeded to a third memorandum. So many left forces that supported him has abandoned him, and now Syriza is supposed to try to exert an opposition. No, this is not true. Mitsotakis is alone in his government. All the left powers have gone to the extra parliamentary, not really parties, but
opposition.
Wings, and then of course we have the Communist Party, which is stable all this year.
You're talking about KKE. Kukue, yes.
Kukue. The real problem is that now we don't have any substantial opposition by Syriza because the left forces have abandoned Syriza since 2015 after the referendum.
Okay. And this kind of leaves Mitsotakis free to kind of abolish all the structures that he sees unfit, for example.
Yes, this is true. Okay. He doesn't face any real difficulty in this.
Okay, interesting. So he kind of did something, from what I heard, is unheard of. There is the so-called university asylum, or there was at least. And it was very, very special to Greece. And can you tell us a little bit about why this is such an important thing to the Greek people?
Well, it's a social, political, the asylum is an institution that keeps from the 19th century and then. It concerns the possibility for the people and ideas to circulate liberally, freely inside the university areas. Then Mitsotakis had really the plan to abolish this institution, which was legalized only in 1922. And then, when Mitsotakis came to the government, he abolished this law immediately after his election, and recently institutionalized the stable existence of a police force in the universities with the aim of controlling and suppressing students. I recall that a large anti-dictatorial rally at the Polytechnic University in November 1973 has led to the fall of dictatorship, took place inside the Polytechnic School in Athens because there was the asylum and the police could not enter the Polytechnic School. Of course, we had an army intervention. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Yes. And an army intervention was ordered, and the tank entered the Polytechnic School, leveling its iron gate. And this was finished like this. But for 5 days almost inside dictatorship, students could stay at the Polytechnic School and protest against the gender.
Okay. So it's practically a safety catch against authoritarianism, this university asylum. So when Mitsotakis abolishes this, or he has already done so, how is this perceived in the wider Greek population? How do they react to this?
Yes, the general population now in Greece is currently pinned down by fear for its life and economical survival due to the pandemic. Also, the Mitsotakis government has taken care to bribe the television channels and the internet media with handsome sums to lie and conceal the truth.
Okay.
That's another thing. The government propaganda is intended to control and homogenize the population in order to exterminate the possibility of rebellion. Nevertheless, a large portion of the youth reacted by descending into militant and very forceful rallies, and gave the government the message that this law would be repealed to practice.
So is this
about the permanent installation of policemen inside the Greek universities?
Which is brutal, so to say.
Of course, it's brutal.
Yeah,
it's not normal.
Yeah, that's something that I realized when I compared, for example, like German police with Greek police. And we lefties in Germany, we always complain about the police, but compared to Greek police, we're almost well off. So is that his long-term strategy? Is this what Mitsotakis wants? Does he want to abolish any chance of opposition? Is that his aim? Does he want that? Because that practically means he's installing like an authoritarian regime, which you kind of already said in the beginning.
Yes, this is right. Yes, he doesn't really want an opposition because what opposition? We're talking about a left opposition. A left opposition carries ideas, carries memories, historical memories, which Mitsotakis and his government want to abolish. They want to homogenize the population. They want the capitalism to be established, really established in people consciousness, and he wants not to have any problems or matters in his government. That concern people reaction. He wants to finish with all this. He wants to finish with people. He wants to finish with everything has a connection to a popular reaction.
We just got a question in. I can show it on the screen. So how is the protesting youth organized? Are they part of an organization or a party, or are we talking about spontaneous coalitions?
Well, we are not talking about a party. We have student unionism in Greece, which has a very serious tradition. No, it's not really spontaneous. It's like having student organizations that are very alive also, and they organize manifestations and protests, and of course they discuss many discussions inside the university, and they are alive people who live and protest and express themselves as they can.
Okay. By the way, that question was asked by the other half of 99 zu 1. So thank you, Nadim, for that question.
Okay, the third person.
Yes. When Mitsotakis started out, I remember that he was mocked a lot. People were joking about him. He's the son of a president with a very bad reputation, from what I've heard. And everybody was like he's like a neoliberal lapdog, a fool. He's not clever. So they were kind of expecting, of course, like a neoliberal policies, but not how can I say, any smart strategy. To me, right now, it doesn't feel like he's an idiot anymore. He's a proto-fascist, yes, but he comes across cleverer than I thought he'd be. What is your take on him, on Mitsotakis? What did you expect from him, and did he exceed or fulfill your expectations?
Well, in principle, he is the son of the prime minister and a long-time politician, and a member of a powerful economically and politically family, all of whose members exercise political and economical power, have a network of service and support for their interests, as well as political influence inherited from generation to generation. That's already something. Okay. The main objective of this family is to concentrate political power and in its hands, and to control important economical positions. Kyriakos Mitsotakis has been brought up in this context and is performing a recipe. Its main deficit is the lack of knowledge of the social situation and its distance from the people, the inability to understand historical data, and his knee-jerk attempt to abolish or restrict legislative historical conquests of the Greek people, such as the right to the expression, the right to protest, the right to the education. The measures taken to tackle the pandemic mainly affect civil and political rights and are aimed at establishing an authoritarian regime of extreme repression and state violence. This is Mitsotakis. This is, let's say, his personality. He has very specific characteristics inherited from his family. And I think that he has no real contact with the true society.
So he's like, how can I say? He's from a sheltered elite. He's practically bred to do what he's doing now.
That's right.
Oh my God. Okay. So
at least I personally think so.
Yeah, I think you're even more of an expert on this than most people I talk to about this. I remember that, as I said, like a friend of mine, she used to call him like a moron, but now she calls him the devil. She says the moment someone farts in the wrong direction, Mitsotakis is going to send the police after that person, and that's
yes. He uses the police too much.
Yes, I've seen that. I've seen that that even, how can I say, even right now in Corona, he's using the police for everything. People are not just fined for walking in the street without giving notice to the police; they are arrested. I mean, I just imagine in Germany someone being arrested because he didn't know because he broke like some minor Corona rules.
This is the situation
now. Actually, he sounds pretty nasty and evil, to be honest. Okay, so in Germany we have another problem. In Germany we have an extreme, it's my opinion, so people can actually say maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. We have this very broad pro-police attitude. So when in Germany, when someone is arrested, and it doesn't matter who, if it's a foreigner, if it's a left-wing, or anyone who gets arrested, the immediate reaction of the wider German people is to say he or she must have done something. It's like it's impossible for a German to imagine that someone is arrested without righteous cause and something like that. So when the police cracks down on left-wing housing projects or left-wing organizations, we always have this, I'd say, they're cheered on by the mainstream population. Is this the same in Greece? Are the people cheering for Mitsotakis' violence right now?
No, it's not like that. It's different because, in Greece we have all these memories from the dictatorship and the state of right governments that really used police as a way to suppress people. And it's not like that. Greek people preserve the memory of the period of dictatorship. They still preserve it. And the right-wing state that relied on the oppression of the people through police violence and repression. Police violence in Greece has a tradition. It has never stopped. Police arbitrariness is not controlled. So the police and their methods do not have the common acceptance. That is exactly what Mitsotakis and his government are trying to do now, namely to restore the bad reputation of the police. However, since his unpopular political choices can only be imposed by the use of extreme and uncontrolled police violence. Lately, we have been dealing with an unbridled police force, which uses methods that come directly from the know-how of the dictatorship, and so that the legitimacy of its work in the conscience of the citizens is not possible. Police in Greece is a really corrupted force. Also, for all these years, it has never changed. We have extreme police violence every day, almost every day. Violence which is not punished.
Didn't a kid just die last year after being arrested from the police? There was this. There was this thing
That's
going on.
Another case. Yes, that's another case. 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Yes, a young man was beaten by the citizens, and then he was finished by policemen.
You're talking about Zach.
Yes, I'm talking about Zach.
Ah, yeah, that was practically a lynching. There's no other way to put this.
Yes, a lynching, and then the policeman, finished him in order to protect him.
I have to give a quick summary for our listeners or watchers, because this is not a very popular case in Germany. There was an LGBT activist called Zach Kostopoulos, I think.
Yes.
And he was the exact circumstances were perceived as unclear. He was accused of having stolen something in a shop, as far as I know, and then the people started beating on him, and the police then arrived, but instead of protecting him, they also started beating on him. And it is to this day, at least to my knowledge, unclear who finished him off, whether he would have died from the beating from the people, or whether it was the police beating that finally did it. No matter how we put this, he would have needed an emergency car right away and should have been taken to the hospital instead of being violently arrested. But that's actually not the case that I was referring to. I was referring to a case of a kid that got arrested by the police last year in summer. I remember this.
That's another case also.
Yeah, because then he died after a couple of days, and people are unsure whether he had some internal damage from the also rather violent arrest. I remember that it was last summer. I was in Athens actually, and I remember that the police stations were closing down the moment it went dark in the city. So everything was closed off with big perimeters. You were not allowed to stand in front of a police station for a couple of days because they were scared that people would come with spontaneous protests and protest at the police stations. Must have been August or September.
It was on July. If you're talking about the case of a young man in Volos, not in Athens. A young guy, yes, he was very heavily injured by the police. He has stayed to the hospital for a few days, and then a month later, he was dead. And there is, of course, we all know that there is a relation between his death and his wounds caused to the policeman, but we don't have till now all the elements we need to prove it before the court. So we have one fact that a young guy was very heavily injured by the police with no reason. There's a reason, of course. But it's another case also. I am talking about this extreme police violence that is taking place every day, almost every day in Athens, and is not punished. very often have cases of this torture, because it is a torture, it's a crime, it's a torture. And unfortunately, these people are not punished.
I mean, the problem is a little bit similar to Germany, because in Germany, the police violence is not as, how can I say, as strong. I would kind of like say it's not as strong, but maybe just because I'm less affected. But we also have the same problem that when you're in Germany, when the police commits a crime, their co-workers, so basically their friends, are doing the investigation. So we also have only very, very few cases in Germany where like blatant police violence is actually investigated or leads to how can I say, to like a trial, and then even to a conviction or something. That's even less so. So we share the pain a little bit, only to a lesser extent.
Yes.
So I know, I kind of know the answer already, because you have been very on fire about this. But friends of mine, they are already talking about a fear of a new junta, of a new like dictatorship, and that it feels like it's starting to feel like this again. And I have no experience with dictatorships, I have to be honest. So I have no memory of this feeling, and not even in my parents or something like that. So my first reaction was like, "Ah, come on, you're exaggerating a dictatorship," because it's something unthinkable for me. So what would you say? Are they exaggerating?
Not really, since we have the same methods. It's very serious.
Okay.
Because the exaggerating police surveillance contradicts with the ideas of an open, free society that lives and breathes and moves freely.
Yes.
The police control of the society is designed to inactivate it through fear. That's the problem. So when a political power chooses to control society by repression, then yes, it is rapidly transformed into a dictatorial type of governance, where every popular reaction must be suppressed in order to achieve the political and economic advantage of the ruling elite. And here we have the example that the Mitsotakis' government chooses to use police everywhere, in real life, in everyday life, to control the people, to fear the people, and make them obey by fear to everything.
So from the huge box of things that a neoliberal can do to rein in people on neoliberalism, he chose, like, as the first tool, brute force and violence. That's how you would say it.
Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
And I must tell you, because it's nowadays that comes this issue. It's going to be maybe the first time that a political prisoner is going to die in Europe since Bobby Sands.
Are you talking about the guy on hunger strike?
Yes. Yes. Dimitris Koufoudinas is on a hunger strike, and it's the 40th day. He claims to change his jail as law orders.
Okay.
And the government doesn't proceed to this. It is very dangerous. His situation is very heavy now, and it is very possible that he will die.
Can you give us a quick like briefing on who he is, because I'm sure nobody in Germany knows about this guy. So just a quick summary, where he's from.
Yes,
and what.
He's a member of an organization, of a political organization called 17th of November, which was all its members were arrested and judged and condemned many years ago, and now they are in jail.
Just for a frame of reference, please tell me if I'm wrong, but what I know from the movement 17th of November is that they understand themselves in the tradition of the communists and forces that kind of brought down the junta, and they kind of, I mean, you have to say they did kill people. They were not just marching in the streets.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes, they did. They were charged, they were punished, and it's been a very long time they're in jail. Okay. But what he claims for is right. He demands that the law to be exercised in his case.
So he's just asking that the laws of the state apply to him.
Yes.
Okay, and as long as he doesn't get, okay, that's fair game, no matter what he did.
Of course, no matter what he did.
Yes. But this is also something that I really hate in some discussions, because no matter what some person did or what my position to that crime is, as long as we have a lawful state, we need to stick to those laws, and otherwise it's down to authoritarianism or to how can I say, willful manipulation of laws in any which way the system sees fit. And then we're pretty much, pardon my French, then we're pretty much fucked.
Exactly. We cannot choose the law that we like.
Yes.
We cannot neglect the law, neither. So in this case, it is his demands, his claims are legal.
Okay. So this kind of looks like a really dire situation right now. What, like two questions. The first question is, what would you recommend, or what would you ask your Greek people to do now? What is your call to action to the Greek people?
To react to everything. All the measures that were taken for COVID are not logical. Yes, we must react. We must react to everything, because this government want to suppress and to vanish many many historical data that have characterized the Greek society for many years. So we have to say no to this effort, and we have to control everything with logic. We cannot live in a world that not logical commands are going through.
What I would then know also, like really in the vein of internationalism, which is kind of a big thing for us, is what do you ask? I mean, the Germans did really bad things to Greece in the last couple of years, so we are in a special position. But generally, what do you ask of your comrades, of your allies, of your friends outside of Greece? What would you ask them to do? Like, how can we in Berlin, how can we in London, how can we anywhere, except for shows of solidarity, how can we help you in your situation?
Observe this government.
Okay.
Observe it. Because
and hopefully criticize it.
Observe and criticize, because I think that they exceed now. They exaggerate we live in a situation that is anti-constitutional in many parts of living in many ways.
Okay, so yeah, that's definitely what we should do. This is also like a little bit why we are doing this right now, because people don't know about this. They simply don't. The only things we talk about in Germany when we're talking about Greece is like maybe Lesbos, maybe if so, which is kind of like our screw up as well. But we never talk about how our vassals, and I would consider Mitsotakis a vassal of neoliberalism, in the direct extent also to the hegemonial attitude of Germany, so that they don't talk about how authoritarian the people act in favor of, how can I say, Germany's interest, for example. Because that's practically what he's doing, in my opinion. So he's making sure that that our style of capitalism, our style of attitude can be streamlined into the Greek society. That's what I perceive. So, and on the next extent, I also think that it's good to have an authoritarian government there, because it keeps the crackdown on refugees up. And
maybe it's a thought.
Yeah, that's
a serious thought. Yes.
Yeah. And to kind of like comment on this a little bit, we see this militarization of police actually everywhere in Western capitalism right now. In the US, we had the obvious things with the Black Lives Matter movement and all the killings of poor people by the police force. In Germany, we are not as far yet. We're not just simply. We had actually a casualty last year during a demonstration, but we don't. That's not a regular. But what I can also see, and this is why it should be interesting to every German as well, is we can also see like the first steps in that direction. Like if you just look at police cars then and now, German police cars are starting to look more and more like tanks. Uniforms of policemen are starting to look more and more like military fatigues. And this is a trend that scares me. Actually, it scares the living daylights out of me, because yeah, as I said, I have no experience with dictatorship. But so thank you very much. This has been very insightful for me. I hope it has been also insightful for our listeners and viewers. Do you have any last comments, last remarks? Maybe someone wants to ask some questions somewhere? No? Okay. Then maybe some last remarks from you?
What you said is very right. I think that governments, enforce the police in general, because they are afraid for a revolution.
Yes, you're afraid of empowering yourself and of emancipating yourself. Yeah, because the backlash could be lethal in the worst case. Like you could die. I mean, that's a scary thought. So thanks a lot for being with us.
You're welcome. I thank you.
Let's repeat this whenever there's something interesting going on in Greece. I think you're going to be my go-to person for this in the future.
Of course.
Okay. So thanks a lot. Take care, and hope to see you when I'm back in Athens someday.
Hope to.
Okay. Take care. Bye.
You too. Bye.
So, das war das Interview. Ich hoffe, ihr hattet alle eine gute Zeit. Es war interessant für euch. Wenn ihr noch Fragen habt, ihr könnt die auch irgendwie noch weiter als Kommentare anfügen an die Videos auf Facebook oder auf YouTube. Vielleicht kann ich sie weiterleiten an Anny und wir können dann irgendwie mal extra in der Folge darauf eingehen. Vielen Dank. Ich wünsche euch allen einen schönen Abend. Genießt die Zeit und bleibt gesund.